Roll off, Robin. I rolled a 3, you got a 4.
I actually had a vague idea for being the defence. I'll be the defender.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Welcome everyone to this week's All Out AOS Presents Tip of the Spear. In our Spearhead-centred podcast, we have had a very busy time recently, and this week is no exception. But before we go into our debate this week, which is kind of linked to news as well, how has your Age of Sigmar week been, Robin?
I suppose good. I beat you.
And mine's been bad because I lost to you by a point.
By a point, yeah, in a very close game.
We did a little bit more practice ready for the Warhammer Open in May, and you tweaked your list a bit by taking out a dragon and bringing in a Yanastra.
Yeah.
I tweaked mine because of the points drops that changed. I kind of got a few more things in mine, which has been quite nice.
The points drops didn't help me. That was the problem. I want to be 2 drops, and the points drops meant I can have another hero, but then I'm 3 drops.
Whereas I went to the other spectrum, I'm 5 drops.
Yeah.
And whether it served me well or not, I'm not quite sure yet. But at least the game was close.
I killed a Magmadroth, shot a Magmadroth to death.
Oh, Yanastra was nasty. Luckily, I then killed her to the wound with the other angry Magmadroth for killing his father.
Yep. But no, then other than that, you just then spent the rest of the game running away from me.
I did.
And I'm very slow and just couldn't catch you.
You did just about by
Just
the
about.
end. So obviously kind of the big news for Spearhead this week was the rules update, which I think is the biggest one that they have ever done to help try and balance Spearhead. 22 Spearheads got rules changes.
Yeah. Which isn't enough, in our opinion.
Well, the gratifying thing for me is none of the ones that we put higher tier ones got any kind of buffs to make them better.
Yep.
And none of the lower one we put lower got any debuffs, which is quite... It made me feel good. It made me feel like we kind of have got a good grasp of how good or bad the armies are.
We at least have a vague idea.
And some of the armies definitely went up a tier in our view, and we're going to try and film that very soon, a updated tier video with all the new Spearheads that have come out this year.
Yeah. And I can't wait for just Games Workshop to be like, psych, here's another update. Your tier list is wrong again.
But we have decided for this week's podcast to look at the ones that they've not touched and see the ones that are the higher end of that and the lower end of that, what changes maybe we would have made to even more balanced Spearhead. I feel like it's pretty typically balanced anyway, and the changes I think for the most part have been very good and have helped that even more. But it will be, it's brilliant if all Spearheads were very balanced and you weren't having to go, I really like the Spearhead, but it's not very good, so I won't choose it for this league or game because, I want to win. It would be nice if all of them had at least an outside shot.
I mean, to a degree, they all do. You can take a bad Spearhead and still win.
You can.
The thing is, all of them tend to do something well. Other than Nurgle.
Well, yeah, they're going to get a host of changes. We're just going to remove everything from theirs and build a whole new Spearhead, maybe.
Add a great unclean one, and it might just be in the middle tier. So we'll start with our lowest tier. There's only actually one of the ones we put in the lowest tier that didn't get a buff.
Yeah, so the ones we've got in the bottom tier that have had changes that we've got is the second Slaves of Darkness, the second Seraphon, the original Idoneth Deepkin, the original Lumineth Realm Lords, the second Kharadron Overlords, the original Disciples of Tzeentch, and then the second Cities of Sigmar and Blades of Khorne. The only one from our bottom that haven't had any changes at all are the original Flesh Eaters.
Yeah, which I kind of get, because it's hard to sort of buff that one and keep it consistent with Spearhead. I think an easy fix for that would to essentially either reinforce the knights or potentially reinforce the heroes.
I was literally exactly going to say reinforce the knights. I think just simple change like that would just make this army, because they only have 4 things on the board.
Yeah.
And which, obviously, I know that and that was an errata, actually, originally, the Crypt Guard weren't reinforced, so the fact that nothing was originally, only 4 units, you do look and you go, oh, that's a rough game. But if the Knights were, because end of the day, there are only 3 models in that unit with 4 health.
4 health, 4+ save.
So
6 up ward.
So that they're a very tanky unit, but the moment that one is dead, their output's a lot less. The moment two's dead, their output. And then if you knew that you could throw it into something, have it die, and bring all 3 back, I think that would really help this Spearhead a lot.
We had a lot of criticism about putting this one quite low, and it does make me wonder. The other thing you could do is you could actually have Feeding Frenzy be what it is in the main game, and it buff their companion attacks. I often think, do a lot of people go, oh yeah, it's really good. Do they actually do that rule wrong? Because when I originally played it, I did that rule wrong.
Who'd do a Warhammer rule wrong?
Yeah.
None of us ever.
So this is the other one. I would change their Feeding Frenzy to affect the Moorbang Knights' companion attacks as well. It's either that or make a really consistent way to get the Noble Deeds. Mm. They've got a spell now which they get 1 for every unit wholly within 12, and it's like on a 4-up or something. Just every unit within 12 in the hero phase, you get 1.
Even if on a 2-up.
Yeah.
Just make some sort of roll for it, but it's a pretty guaranteed roll for it.
Yeah.
From kind of the next lowest tier that we've got, the only ones that didn't have any kind of changes is the 2 Bonereapers and the Fyreslayers. The Iron Jaws, the Cities of Sigmar, the Hidden Knights of Slaanesh, the Hellsmiths, and the Ogor Mawtribes all got boosts, which I think was really nice to see. And they were just sitting below our kind of middle tier, so hopefully that's kind of put a lot of them up around that.
I think the Scrap Guts definitely what they got.
They might have. Well, we want to see them on the table
Yes.
first, maybe, but they might have gone up even higher potentially. But should we start with the Fyreslayers? Because I do think this is a fairly easy fix. I would give them their rune ability for battle round rather than turn like it is in the main game.
Yep.
Just so if you're not going first, you get a 5-up ward or whatever it is you choose. I would also like to see them get the anti-charge strike first.
Replace one of the runes for that.
Replace one of them for that.
Or just add it.
And you got 5 choices and you don't necessarily have to choose all 5. Yeah, that would be quite nice. Maybe little things like that with their rules. I would make at least the really fighty unit reinforced. Because that is your problem at Armies. If someone can kill them early, the rest of it's not doing a lot. Because I do think it maybe would be too broken to have all of the little dwarfs reinforced. Although you're only bringing 1 back a turn. So would it? I don't know. But either a rule where that unit gets to come back, or once you can do a reinforcement unit, maybe.
Possibly. I think maybe giving them the strike first rune might actually make it a bit too broken in Spearhead. That's the only buff you're giving them, and I would say that's fine. But if you give that on top of the others, I would say that would be a little...
I mean, but if you gave that and then didn't give it battle round, and so first turn you still just get charged, it doesn't help. You need to have it both on the battle round and first turn.
Yeah.
I just think they need something just to help them be a bit more reliable. Maybe a very, very small change, but change the throwing axe's ability to on a 3-up instead of a 4-up. It's not crazy, but it just means that you're going to reliably get that across more.
I think either reinforce your good combat unit or reinforce the other unit, but just say you can only bring 2 of them back. So it can be any of the 4 that die, but you get to bring the first 2 back.
I would be quite happy with that. I think that would just help your army.
Something like that.
Yeah. Going on to the Ossiarch Bonereapers, should we do the original one first?
Yeah.
The Bone Tithe Echelon?
Yeah. I think just have your skeletons at the start.
Yeah. That's really simple. Just rather than coming around in the 3rd battle round, you get the 2 units from the start. Like the Soulblight Gravelords, they get theirs all from the start. I don't think this would make that army too good.
Considering a lot of your abilities sort of evolve around buffing the skeletons anyway, if you just have a bad turn 1 where your opponent goes in and smashes your skeleton, you go, oh wow, that's sort of ruined my hero. And I know you can still there's other buffs you can give to your other stuff, but the army seems very focused on buffing them.
Yeah.
And you've only got one of them to buff.
Yeah.
And then you've got a lot of stuff on the board. It's not like they're super fast, so the likelihood is you're probably still only getting one of them in anyway. But it just means you've got a bit more units to do things with.
I think that would just be a very, very simple change and would really change the way that you play that army I think that's a really good one.
Yeah.
The other Ossiarch Bonereapers.
I think, just have everything on the board. Because that unit's really fast. It can just sort of go in and smash really early on. I don't know what else you do. It's either that or you give reinforcements to the 2 units.
The Immortus Guard and the Necropolis Stalkers.
Yeah, I think you make them reinforced. Have it the rule where they're both an option to reinforce, but you can only bring one of them back.
Yep.
Even if you don't necessarily do it the traditional way, they've got to be wholly within an edge or something like that. And then have it as like a regiment ability, like they do with the Wild Corpse Hunter in the...
I don't like that, though. I don't like the fact you have to choose to get a unit back.
I guess.
I just think for me, it just ends up being an auto pick, unless the other one is crazy good.
Well, the other one would be, I would keep the +1 to discipline rolls. So they're both pretty good.
I'd end up just picking the reinforcement.
I probably would.
That's what I'm saying. So that I don't like that, a rule that does that. I think it just way overbalances what you're going to choose, and you feel like you don't get a regiment ability because your regiment ability is making your army as good as it should be. That's what I don't like about it. I think starting on the board with the Morcast Archive wouldn't... Obviously, I feel like that could be a bit rough for them just charging in because their movement's good enough. But I don't think that's any different to other really killy armies who have got the mobility to get something into you. And it would only probably be that unit. Everything else is not that fast. It's not like multiple units are running into you.
Yeah, and also, again, you can still deploy in such a way that means that they get into combat, but they're getting into combat with everything. Which isn't ideal.
So, or again, they're picking one thing and you just make sure you put your army in a way that they can't get into everything, and the one thing that they can is something that you're not as worried about it.
Great. They went into a squad that's reinforced and they wiped that squad. It comes back anyway.
Yeah.
I think, like you say, one or the other on that one. Either give them the reinforce or just everything starts on the board.
Well, our kind of middle tier that we got, most of them didn't get changes, which is quite nice. So we have got the Vigilant Brotherhood Stormcast, they've got no changes. The Sons of Behemoth got no changes. And the second Flesh Eaters got no changes. There were changes from that middle tier to the Daughters of Cain.
They got a bit of a debuff.
I did feel like they were maybe the top end of that tier anyway. And the Gloomspite Gits, the Snarlpack Hunters.
So they had 3 changes and they were all in different phases.
Yeah, we're probably quite happy with all of those placements. Would we change anything to the Stormcast or the Flesh Eaters?
I mean, the Stormcast obviously had an errata, which I think was probably the right thing to do. The other Flesh Eaters...
I mean, we've put the middle tier, but I think we put that middle tier because basically they can probably beat a lot of the lower tier ones, but they probably won't beat many of the higher tier ones. Yeah, they're a bit of a weird one. So maybe they could have done with something just to help them against those higher tier ones.
It's a super minor one. They've got a enhancement on that obviously goes on the general, that when the general's so close to a unit, it makes the shooting attack for the flayers damage 2.
Yeah.
But it's a once per game. I would just change that to, as long as he's not in combat, he can do it every shooting phase.
Yeah. And that's like a tiny change, but actually when you're playing,
I think
and where you use that unit, that was a huge difference for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
It doesn't make the flayers like super broken. They get quite a few dice, but the shooting's a little bit swingy. But the fact that they are 2 red, 2 damage means that whatever little they do get through should get through and do a fair bit. That is kind of what would help them against the strongest saving armies, which I think they struggle against a little bit.
Yeah. Suns, I think we're not touching.
Yeah, I don't know what you'd maybe do with Suns.
I mean, if you thought they were too good, I would say the reinforcement rule, you can mean they could only bring 1 giant back. If you think that they need help, you make the general reinforce. I don't know.
You can't make them more consistent in combat.
No.
Because then they jump up way too much.
Yep.
But like you say, if you take the reinforcements away from them, they just drop down so much.
Really would.
They're a weird army where small changes would...
go too far either way. So I think you leave them as they are.
Yeah. Do with Giants. They win the draws on Timber.
Yes, I would definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
Then that's a tiny little change, but actually that could be pretty big. Yeah, that's a really good rule. An army I think we were both a little bit surprised it didn't get any changes at all was the original Ogor Mawtribes. because they seem to do a lot of changes to the newer one.
I think it literally goes, you get 3 things. You get 1 battle round 2, 1 battle round 3, and 1 battle round 4.
Yeah, and that would just help them.
You can pick the order, and that's it.
And that would just help that army, because if we're looking for balance, we kind of rated it middle, so it's not like we're singing it's well out of balance. But I do think you have very varied games with that army.
I think
very bad ones where everything's killed too early and you can't catch up, or you held on long enough and you have a really good end. And it.
I think the only reason we put them middle is because essentially it comes down to, can my spearhead kill enough early on? Yes, then I'm probably going to win this game. No, then the ogres are probably going to win this game. And we sort of looked at it and went, well, that's sort of 50-50 between the spearheads.
The ones from the next up tier that didn't get any changes were the Seraphon, Starscale Warhost. We got these as not top tier, but just below.
Yeah.
Because I could instantly go, well, if they need help, you reinforce the
Saurus
Warriors. But I think that would make that army too good.
Yeah.
So if you were looking to debuff them...
Sort of a minor one, maybe have the Carnosaurs eating a unit ability.
Double its health?
Yeah, either double its health or essentially, I don't know, cap it. So you can't just snipe a 5 health hero.
I mean, but I kind of like that.
Because
obviously,
that.
At the end of the day, if they're in combat with 2 things, one of them is a 1 health thing, one of them is a 5 health or 6 health thing, and they've taken the risk to try and eat the 5 or 6, chances are they're not eating it. It's horrible when they do, but they went against the odds in doing that, whereas they could have guaranteed eating the smaller thing pretty much. So maybe I would because it is exceed. Yeah.
That's what I mean. If you maybe just cap it at like 4.
Yeah.
So you can kill a cavalry unit.
But then there's still...
Or just have it...
can't do it heroes.
Can't do it on heroes.
Yeah, I'd like that, because it's a horrible one for me if they do it to my Blades of Corn and they eat one of the knights. That's horrible, because they're 5 health. But again, I look at it and I go, well, the odds are they wouldn't do it. But yeah, eating a hero is really nasty.
Yeah, that's what I mean. If they can just, like you say, you've got some decent 5 health combat heroes that are probably not going to kill the Carnosaur in combat, let's face it. But are like, if there's a big combat where there's a couple things and they just go, great, I eat your 5 health hero, and then I fight into the squad that you've charged into me, not killed me because you were sort of banking on it.
Yeah.
In that turn, the Carnosaurs killed a hero and killed a squad.
Yeah. And that's game changing.
I think that's a good change, just to debuff them a little bit. That ability stays the same, except for cannot affect heroes. Just add that little bit there.
Sylvaneth didn't get anything changed to them. The Bitterbark Copse.
If you were to buff them, maybe reinforce the archers. But are they even dying anyway?
Yeah, exactly.
But if we're looking to debuff them, because we're saying it's...
they are saying one of the better ones. I mean, do you take out the reinforcements from the...
But what's the point in that unit then? I think that fundamentally just makes that unit pointless.
They're still standing somewhere. They're teleporting, or they're causing themselves a menace somewhere.
Maybe remove the Tree Lord's strike first ability. We're not looking to break the army.
No, we just want to balance it. If you're looking at what could make a competitive game between them and the Hellsmiths,
yeah,
that ability to strike first just kind of either wipes a unit of the Little Dwarfs or does a decent amount of damage to the bull before it gets to hit it first. Yeah, I don't look at that army and go, it needs too much of debuff, because I do think that army naturally has weaknesses and strengths, so you're always going to have a chance against it.
Maybe you could take shooting combat out of the Tree Lord. I was looking at maybe reducing the healing a little bit, maybe, but again, that's sort of integral to the army.
The healing and the teleport, because I wonder whether they're going to be really good in the next board, because it looks like there's
lots of terrain.
I don't know if they'll class as terrain because they're like relics and things, but if they do, that would make this army very good. Maybe that's the thing that boosts the new Nurgle. You have to be by the terrain. Maybe. That's my hope. Stormcast Eternals Spearhead has no changes.
Yeah.
We've got that as not quite top tier, but quite high up. I don't think I'd probably do anything to that army. But I think it's a hard one too.
Yeah, because you don't actually have a massive amount to them.
Yeah.
That's kind of the thing. They do quite well. The only thing I could think is, instead of making the healing D3, make it a flat 1. Something like that, maybe.
Because is it currently you heal D3 units?
No, you basically heal 1 unit D3.
And buff its control score.
Score by 3. I think keep the control score buff, and you just have the heal 1.
Yeah, because both those two things together are very, very good. So just a heal of 1.
Yeah.
I think that's quite a good small change that it affects how you play that army. Because I've played you enough times that I know that the chariot goes in to something that you know can't kill it in a turn, and then Nightfall X just sits behind it, healing it every single time.
Making it 5 control
and there's nothing
score.
you can do because it's got in good enough save and it's got in enough health that unless you can get other things into it, he's just sat there probably controlling an objective, not dying and locking part of your army up effectively until your Nestor and the Annihilators come down and they wipe out what's left.
Yeah, I don't know what else you'd do.
And another army I don't know what else you'd do with is the original Slaves to Darkness. We've put these quite high up. Originally they had their cavalry unit from the start. That got changed to second battle round, and we're still putting them, higher than middle. Because I was like, do you take away their rend, extra rend, so they're only rend 1? But then
They're just going to struggle against any good saving army.
They won't be effective enough.
And then if you take the damage off, then
yeah,
remove the horses' attacks.
That would do absolutely nothing, or everything, which is what horses do.
Maybe then here's one. On the Eye of the Gods table, a unit can only have 1 buff. So you can keep re-rolling it. So if you get one you don't like, you can essentially re-roll it and go, well, I had the plus to run, but I've rolled the ward. I'll have the ward.
That's quite a nice change. You can only have up to 1
You can
buff,
only have 1 on 1 unit.
but it is changeable. That's really nice.
That stops you from
just having your knight unit running around with plus to rend.
Yeah. A 6-up ward. I don't want to ruin the ability altogether. I think, like you say, they can just have 1 of the buffs on the Eye of the Gods table.
The Cruel Boys haven't got any changes at all. And again, I think this is one probably don't need any because they do have their weaknesses, they do have the strengths. They are a destruction army, so they can really do well, but you can also not.
I mean, the only thing I could possibly think about is the bow's no longer an automatic 6 damage against monsters.
Is its problem that it's too good against all armies with monsters? I would say not.
No.
That's what I'm saying. So it's not really fixed anything. Because what? It's helping you against...
How about decreasing its range then?
It's 24, I think.
Maybe go to 18. So it's got to be a bit closer.
That's a nice change.
So it can't literally just sit at the back and snipe.
We've not done a lot of taking anything away in terms of coming in later. One of your Gut Rippers units comes in second battle round or third battle round.
Because then you've not got
blockers for
your shooting units. And you've got less options for the battle trait to give the strike first to. I think they need those 2.
No, I mean, I don't think there probably needs a change. I think they're probably right to leave it as it is. If it doesn't really need one, I don't think you should really touch an army much. The Nighthaunt, the original one, the Slasher Host, didn't get any changes at all.
Remove reinforcements from the chain rasps.
Nah, that would kill the army.
Would it?
Yeah. I think that army would really struggle. Because then nothing would be unreinforced in the whole army if you did that. I think that would be too big a change. It would be a nerf, but I think you'd probably go too far.
Then the General's Ward.
It's 5 up instead of a 4 up.
Yeah, maybe that.
Because they're not killy enough.
Yeah.
That if their whole thing is they hoard you and they're everywhere, and if you just go, oh, you're not killing me, and I'm killing 4 a turn, 2 turns later you've got none of them. Oh, they don't come back. Not great.
Yeah, true. Yeah, maybe then just make the ward weaker for the general. Or...
all of their good things, I think
you just...
You can't mess with the battle trait. You can't take away their crit auto wound. All of the good things
about
about
the strike last?
But I think that's on like a 10 up.
Make it once per turn. Something like that. Just so if you do have that turn where you roll 3 12-up charges, you can't just give an entire army strike last.
Yeah, a very small change in very select games, but one that would mean that they're not as dominant as they could
Yeah.
be then. Yeah. Our top tier, there are 3 armies that have not had any changes at all, which is quite interesting. We'll start with the Idoneth Deepkin, the Kelium Tidal Guard. This is probably the one that I'm most disappointed it hasn't had any changes at all.
Because we've said this a few times. We think the easiest thing to do is just to remove the reinforcement from the archers.
Yeah.
It's real simple. Doesn't change what the army does, but it just means that you've got to just be a bit more reserved with the archers.
One way I would say of beating that army is it hasn't got a lot of control score.
Yeah.
Whereas the archers are 10 walking control score that you can kill and then make another 10 walking control score. At least that way.
That's also then shooting.
They've gone. Yeah. Consistently.
Yeah.
So that will be a change. You did have a few other ideas?
Yeah. I mean, it was also that they removed the run and shoot ability they have as well. Because it's also retreat and shoot.
Yeah, that's too.
So I think
take one of those out.
I genuinely think remove reinforcements and remove run, retreat, and still shoot ability.
Yeah. The Skaven, the second one from my top tier, the Gnawfeast Claw Pack, have not had any changes at all.
What would you do to these?
Apparently just take away reinforcements.
No, that breaks the army too much.
And I think it's probably too much baked into the law. I'd just remove the D3 healing.
Yeah, again, I think that kind of would crumple them to...
Would it? Because they're still reinforced. That's the way I look at it. You either
The
remove
army-
the reinforcement or you remove the D3 healing. You don't do both, but you do one.
Maybe.
We have done a game which unfortunately won't make it to the channel because of technical difficulties. But we have had a game where we use the new Gloomspite Gits with their rules where the stabbers aren't reinforced. At the end of the day, we probably are going to finish that game with the stabbers still alive or maybe one unit died against an army that just can't do enough damage to it. I think maybe it would probably make it too weak against armies that can do enough, but it would help the ones that can't do enough damage to them.
See, I was thinking something along the lines of you don't necessarily start with all 3 heroes on the board. You get either the engineer or the Grey Seer.
I'd say the Grey Seer.
I think you get to choose. What makes that army really good is it's all about options. So if you want to play it a certain way, you pick the Grey Seer. If you want to play it a different way, you pick the engineer.
I mean, I quite like the fact because especially when you compare with all the new spearheads that pretty much have 4 units, that army has 3 units of just heroes, plus 2 units of 10, plus the
Rat Ogres.
And I know you maybe choose to start not with your whole army, with your battle trait, but I do think that when you compare with those, just numbers on the board is just so effective for scoring cards. So maybe something coming in later. The only army then that we've not talked about from the top tier that have not had any other changes is the Kharadron Overlords. So they had a lot of changes because they were probably lower middle before, and now they shot them right up with basically the whole army being reinforced. Would it just be as simple as taking the reinforcements off the Sky Wardens?
Yeah.
That would definitely bring them down a bit.
Exactly. It's not like they do a crazy amount of damage. There's nothing to take away their damage. I mean, you could maybe make the general damage 2 instead of damage 3.
Oh, I'm messing with my favourite general here, Robert.
Again, it's a small. It's not gonna.
But he only gets 3.
Or maybe just make their retreat ability on a 4+.
Because it's currently a 2+.
Yeah.
I mean, I think even just a 3+. Because currently you almost go, I've got a card for taking that objective. I'm just going to bank on that 2+. Because I'm probably going to get it and take that objective. On a 3 or definitely a 4.
I think a 4. Because it's a simple fact of you go, well, I'll charge him into that nothing combat because I'm likely to get out of it. Now you go,
The 50-50.
do I charge him into that nothing combat on a 50-50? So that means then you've also got to be more cautious with them in your turn.
Because now you're like, oh, you charged me, that's fine, I pop off and go that objective you just charged me off. Whereas then you're like, well, it's only on a 4 up. I think that would definitely affect how good this army is,
Yep.
but not too crazy that you're taking it down
Even-
to back where it was.
Either that, or make the boat 2 control score.
Too big a thing to have two. You have a tiny little hero with a flag's got 5, but this giant boat thing has
He's got a flag.
2.
He's got a big magical flag.
I know. But you know what I'm saying? I think thematically just
Yeah.
too much to not believe that huge thing's only got 2 control score.
But no, I think maybe then just keep the, like you say, swap the balloon guys to their ability to a 4 up.
Yeah, tiny little change, but actually probably a big enough one that it affects how that army plays on the board. Yeah. We probably won't do any of the new this year's spearheads, do you think?
To be fair, I think they're all pretty middling.
Calling Nurgle middling, are you?
We already said we're going to give Nurgle the Great Unclean one, and it'll probably be middling. What would you do? All right then, Nukin. What are you going to do to the new Nurgle? Because that's the one we've played with a few times now. What would you honestly do to bring that spearhead up?
I'd say increase the range of the thing to maybe 5 or 6 inches. You'd make it not on a 4 up or whatever rubbish it is now, just D3 mortals.
So essentially,
You either increase the range, or you pick all terrain features. Anything in the whole game, anything within 3, and still leave it on the 4 up or whatever. So still not going to go off all the time, but will. You make the Beast of Nurgle reinforced.
so what I was thinking, Beast of Nurgle has countercharge,
Yeah, like
just in-baked, because
like
that's
he does.
his ability now. And then either have it stay the same, where it's a unit within 3 of a terrain feature on a 4+, but it's every terrain feature.
Yep.
So the likelihood is you're going to get a couple of them. Or, like you say, it's just every unit within 3 takes D3.
Yeah. That would just make that ability so much better. I feel like all my changes would just change everything, but I'd have the Nurglings where they either can teleport round terrain features, or their healing is just to bring one back. Not a D3 heal, just heal any damage, bring one back.
I think you'd have it where they're not reinforced, but if that unit is destroyed, it returns at the end of the turn.
Yeah.
In full.
Yeah.
But you just make it a bit restrictive about where it can return dead.
And it's not like it's going to come back and kill you, or maybe even take an objective, because it's just such a low control score.
Yeah. There's a reason both of us wanted it when we were making our worst spearhead.
It's the worst 3+ health unit at the very least, because
easily.
all the rest are good cavalry units typically, or a big monster, whereas they are slow, the health's not the best, their save's terrible, they will not do any damage to you, and their control score's awful. If they could just do one thing good, like teleport, or like you say, come back or whatever, it would just mean that is a something unit rather than a nothing unit. And the other latest ones, we probably want a few more games to see how they really fall in a ranking system anyway, and if they need changes or don't. None of them are... Nurgle's the only one that's kind of come out and gone, this is really bad. Well, let us know in the comments if there are any changes you would have liked to have seen to any armies to help balance, because that's what we're looking for. You know, we didn't want to change an army and go it from the bottom to the top necessarily. We want to try and balance out the game as much as we can.
We want to make our job easier, so the next tier list is just everything's the middle.
Everything's middle. That's easy. Nurgle's still at the bottom somehow.
It's just a 40-minute long video where we go, this unit's in the middle, this army's in the middle, this army's also in the middle.
What a shock.
What a shock.
So do let us know what you think if you're watching on YouTube. If you are listening on the various podcasting places, you can email us at alloutageofsigmar@gmail.com, because we'd like to hear your thoughts. I do want to say we did have a pretty big week in the podcast, because we did make it to 500 subscribers on YouTube.
We did.
Which has kind of been a bit of a goal of ours. And we're on track for your 1,000 by the end of the year, hopefully.
Yeah, we should
Fingers
smash
crossed.
that.
I do want to say, if you are someone who's watching on YouTube or listens on podcast but watches our videos, thank you so much for subscribing. Hopefully there is maybe unlocked a few more features that we can do. We're looking at doing some more like live videos and polls and being a bit more interactive that way, hopefully. So look out for that. Well, Robin, I believe it is time for your outro.
My outro is that I am going to errata this podcast so that the attacker has to do the outro, not the defender. So what's the outro, Duncan?
What date are you doing that from?
Now.
I will errata you, Robin. How am I going to errata Robin to make him? What do I think he is? Too good, too bad, just in the middle. Your dice rolls are definitely too bad.
Yeah.
So we're going to give you an automatic +1 to all your dice rolls.
The last time we did a game where I had a +1 to dice rolls, it didn't help me. I need at least
I'm
a
talking
+2.
all dice rolls, not priority. Literally everything you roll has a +1. You can't roll double ones on a charge.
See, that's what I was going to say. I think for charges, I roll the opposite. So a 1 is a 6, and a 6 is a 1.